Okay. All right, can everybody see my screen? Yeah? Let me know. Yeah, okay. And do you all have this open on a separate window?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna fill this in together, okay? So function notation, those of you that watched the video, function notation was just fancy for when they give an equation a name other than just saying y equals, 2x plus 3. They make it fancier, okay? They say f of x equals 2x plus 3, all right? So it's just a fancy way of naming equations. It's a fancy way of inputting an x, doing something to it, solving for y. So you're basically, you input the x, you come out with the y. You're making ordered pairs, x, y, okay? So let's just do some practice problems so that you know what kind of problems you should expect. So for example, number 1, if f of x equals 2x minus 3, find the following, okay? Whenever you see the number inside the parentheses, okay, remember f is just the name of the function. X is just telling you, hey, I'm the input value. I'm the one you input into the little equation part. So right here, this -2 is telling you, input me in to the little problem and then solve, okay? And when you solve, the answers are your y values. So all these white boxes, those are the ones that I'm going to try to do, and all the colored boxes are the ones that I'll do for the asynchronous, okay? So what is f of -2? This is how you solve for that. You take your little equation part, 2x minus 3. And what you're going to do is you're going to plug in the -2 in your x. Okay, he is your input. So you're going to put 2 parentheses, -2, and then -3. There it is. So all I did is I replaced this one right here. Let me show you. Right there. With the -2. Okay, because he is my input. Inputs are the ones that get plugged in. And then you just have to use order of operations to solve the problem. So then you would do the multiplication before you would do the subtraction. So 2 times -2, well, that's -4. And then you have the -3 still. Okay. So -4 minus 3, I mean, a lot of students are going to be like, oh, 1, -1. No. -4 is negative, -3. That minus makes 3 negative also. So really, it's -4 and another -3. You're going to add them up and keep the sign. So it's going to be -7. So how do we write our answers fancy? Okay. We write them like this. We just found f of -2. That means we took the function called f, we input the value -2, and we got the answer -7. That's how they're going to write it, okay? And all you have to remember is that I just created an ordered pair, all right? My x value was the input, the -2. My answer was the y, the -7. So I just created that. This right here, f of -2 equals -7, is the same thing as -2, -7. They're just ordered pairs. Okay. Question so far on that one? I'm gonna miss Mr. Camero, but I know I have a friend for life. I wish him the best. We good? Yes or no? No problem.
Yes.
Okay. So now look at the next problem. Same thing. Find f of 7. So all they're telling us to do is take the function called f. This is the function called f up here. And they're telling us now you're going to use the 7 for the input. All right. So same thing. We're going to take the 2x. Is that too small? Okay. The 2x minus 3. And I'm going to input the 7 where I see the x. And then we solve. I'm going to have to do the multiplication again before I do the subtraction. So 2 times 7 is 14. And minus 3, well, that gives me 11. You're going to take your answer and you're going to write it fancy. We found that f of 7 equaled 11. And what's the ordered pair that that is equivalent to?
7, 11.
Very good. 7, 11. Okay, and that's how you solve that one. Okay. Now look at the third problem. This one's a little bit different because the first two gave you the input. You see the little number inside the parentheses, inside is your input. Okay. But where is this 9? He's not in the input spot. He's on the answer spot. What did we say the answers were? Because the X's were our input. You see, 7s were input. 7s were the X's. Who were the answers?
The output.
Which letter in the ordered pair is it? The Y. So whenever you see this type of problem, now they're telling you, hey, I'm already the answer. Okay? So you're having to find out, well, what was the input that they solved to get 9? So now it's going to look like this. Let me increase the font. Now it's going to look like this. 2x minus 3 equals 9. We already gave you the answer. You're trying to find the input. You're trying to find the x. So basically, it just comes down to just solving an equation. Okay? So what do we do next? How do we solve for x? Because we have to get x alone. Wouldn't I move that minus 3? How do I move that minus 3?
You add 3 to both sides.
Very good. So I'm going to add 3 here. And then I'm going to go add 3 over here. Okay, let me put them in a different color. Okay. So now I'm going to have 2x, 3 minus 3 canceled, right? Equals, what's 9 plus 3?
12.
12. Very good. And then finally, I am going to
Divide both sides by 2.
Very good. And that one, I'm just using the little line like next to the 0. And I'm going to put 2 here. And you don't have to color code right now. Like if it's taking you forever to do that part, I'm just going to do it so that you see the process. Okay. So 2 divided by 2, well, that's just an x. Perfect. That's what I wanted. Equals, and then what's 12 divided by 6 by 2? I gave you the answer. 6. There we go. So guess what? Now you know that it would have looked like this. F of 6, we found our input, equals the 9. And this ordered pair is simply 6, 9. Questions on this one. These are a little bit harder because we'll have to solve for the input, okay? You have to just make sure you remember when the number's inside the parentheses, that's your input. That is your x, and you're trying to find the y. When it's on the outside, well, that's the answer. That's already your y, and you're going to have to do solving equations to find your x. Okay? Questions there? Okay. Let's go to the bottom white part right here, f of -3. And now we're using this equation. And the reason I want to do this one, it's a little bit different because there's several x values. There's not just one x. We're going to have to input this -3 everywhere we see an x. Okay. All right. So we're going to do this. This is my input. I'm going to input it in my problem. So it's going to be -3. And you see the little squared? We got to put the little squared. So I'm going to have to go to Insert, Special Characters, and you're going to have to go to Alphanumeric, Math Alphanumeric, and then the 2 should be there at the very top. You see that? And then -3, parentheses, and here's another x, so I have to put the -3 in there also, -3, and then the +5. If we follow order of operations, who are you going to solve first? Which part are you going to do first in that problem?
The exponents.
The exponents, very good. So I'm going to do -3 times -3. How much is that?
+9.
Very good, +9. Then I'm going to have to do the multiplication, right? So what's -3 times -3? Because you see that minus sign, I'm already giving it to that 3. So -3 times -3, how much is that going to be?
+9.
+9. And then we have that +5 there. Okay, just like that. Now it's just addition. 9 + 9, 18, + 5, 23. There it is. So remember how we're going to write our answers? We're going to write them fancy. F of -3 equals 23. And that ordered pair is simply -3, 23. Questions on that one? So we had to plug it in everywhere we saw an X. Okay, let's go to the next slide. These are super easy, okay? Because it's not an equation. They gave it to us in a table form, right? So they're saying f of -3, find the answer. Well, who is -3? Who's -3? The x. Very good. So you might want to make a little note for yourself that f of -3 is really just telling you same as saying x equals -3. That's what it's telling you. So if it's the same as x equals -3, all it's telling you to do is go to the table, go find x equals -3. There it is. Who's the answer? Who's the partner? Who's the y value for it?
2.
So that's it. F of -3 equals 2. We know that because from the table, the ordered pair is -3, 2. Okay. All right, give me another way of saying f of x equals 9. What is it the same as?
9 equals f of x.
Yes, but which letter is the 9? In an ordered pair, who is the 9?
Oh, the y.
Very good. So it's the same thing as me saying, hey, the y is now a 9. And that's why it says go find x. So if the y is a 9, now you got to go down here. Okay, the answer was the 9. So you have to look for the 9 up here. You see how the 9's up here on the x? We don't want, that's not an x. This is an answer. This is a y. So I have to go down here, look for the 9. Now who's its x partner?
2.
2. Good. So now here's what this one would look like. F of 2 equaled 9. So the ordered pair was 2, 9. So it's just a matter of knowing who are they giving you, because that's who you have to go look for on the table. Okay. Okay, how about this one? They're trying to trick you. F of -1. Who's -1?
The y.
But look at this one. F of -3. Same as x equals -3. Because remember, when they're in the parentheses, they're the inputs. They're the x's. So who's -3? I'm sorry, who's -1? He's not in the answer part, so he's not a y. Who is he? So who's -1? Don't look at the table. Just look at what I'm asking. Who is -1? If the number's inside the parentheses, they're telling you he is an input. Who are the inputs?
The x's.
Very good. So x equals -1. Okay, they're trying to tell you, hey, x is a -1. Okay, so let's see what happens when we go try to find a -1 in our table. Here's the x. Is there a -1?
No.
No. A lot of students are going to be like, well, there's one here. That's not an x. This is telling me that the x is -1. Well, they're trying to trick you. They didn't put an x equals -1. So guess what? This does not exist. That's the answer. We couldn't find one that was x equals -1, so it doesn't exist. How about this one? Who are they trying to tell you is a 5?
The y.
Very good. So this is the same as saying y equals 5. If you go to the table, is there a 5 in the y?
No.
Nope. So I'm going to put does not exist. D-N-E does not exist. Okay. Look at the next one. On the next one, they're giving you a table, x's, and then the f of x's are your y's. It's just a fancy way of saying it. Okay. And they're telling me write your ordered pairs in function notation. Okay, so here's what it would look like in function notation. Who is your input?
The x.
So I'm going to go f of, and I'm going to take the first one, -1 equals, what was the partner to that one? Who was the answer to that one?
+1.
Very good. And that's writing ordered pairs in function notation. Here you would write f of who?
2.
Equals?
7.
There you go. That's writing ordered pairs in function notation. Questions there? Okay. Okay. Now we're doing the same thing we were doing in the first ones. They're going to give us some inputs. We're finding the outputs. Or they'll give us outputs and we find the inputs. Okay. So let's start with G of 10. Notice that I've got four different functions up here. One of them's called F. One of them's called G. One of them's named H. And the other one's named J. Okay. So here they're telling you, find G of 10. So which function do they want me to use? The F, G, H, or J?
G.
The G. And they're telling me the input is a 10. So go ahead and input the 10. So now it's going to look like this. X, let me make this bigger. X, and then I need the little squared. Insert. Special characters. It should be there already. Squared. So X squared plus 7. I am going to take my input, the 10, and plug it in for the X. So I'm going to go 10, and then I need the little square. So I'm just going to edit copy. There it is. Plus 7. What's 10 squared? What's 10 times 10?
100.
100. And then plus 7 is just going to be 107. So let's write our answer in the fancy forms. Let's write it in function notation. F of, I'm not F. What letter, what function do they want me to use? G, right? I put F. The name of the function was G, not F. So G of 10 equaled 107. And what ordered pair does that make?
10, 107.
Very good. 10, 107. There it is. Questions there? Can somebody tell me if Araceli came in or Lee?
Araceli.
Yeah, they came in.
Oh, okay, you're here, Araceli. And how about Lee? No? Okay. All right, look at the next little white box, because there's only, I'm going to do the ones that like are different. That way I've done everything that you can possibly be asked for, okay? This one says, find H of A. H of A. Well, first of all, what function do they want you to use? The one called F, G, H, or J?
H.
H, right? And then who are they saying the input is? The input is a letter. They're telling you, you're going to input me. Okay, so then here's what they're saying. You're going to take the H, which the H just says 12 divided by X, right? And they're saying, input me as the X value. Okay, 12 divided by A. They're just telling you to switch the letter. That's it. And we're not going to be able to solve it because A is not a number, so I can't divide. Okay, so that's it. H of A equals 12 divided by A. So A, comma, 12 divided by A. They basically just made you switch the letter for the input. Okay, so it looked hard, but it's not. Okay, it's a super easy question. Questions there? Okay. G of X equals 16. Oh, now what are they saying?
They're giving us the Y instead of the X.
Very good. So now I'm going to take the function G. Let me see what the function G says up here. X squared plus 7. Let me copy it from here, from the first problem. That way the exponent's already there. So edit copy. And edit paste. There it is. So I'm going to take X squared plus 7, and they already gave me the answer, 16. So now I'm going to solve the equation for X, because they didn't give me the input. I'm trying to find that input. So what would be the first step to get x alone? Who would you move first? What would you do?
Subtract 7.
Very good. We're going to do -7 to both sides. Let me do that in a different color. All right, so now you have left x squared. Let me copy it from here. So x squared equals 60 minus 7. Well, that's 9. Now, do you remember how to get rid of that little 2? Do you know what the opposite of squaring a number is?
Isn't it like square rooting it or something like
Very good, square rooting it. So let me see if I can find it. I haven't checked this one, but if I go to special characters and if I go to the drawing, there it is. It just looks like that, square root, like a little check mark. They don't do like the top. Okay, so this one's the one. And I'm gonna need 2 of them, so might as well put 2 because I need to do it to both sides. Okay, so this one, I'm gonna put it around this one. So I'm taking the square root of the x squared, and then I'm also taking the square root of the 9. So I'm taking the square root of both sides. I don't know if it'll let me change this to red. There we go. So that you can see what it is that I'm doing. All right. So what that does is that's definitely going to cancel the little 2 on the left side. So it's perfect. I'm actually going to be left with just the x. And then what's the square root of 9? Do you know?
3.
Very good. There it is. So I can write my fancy answer. Okay. G of, we found that the input was 3 equals 16. So what's the ordered pair?
3, 16.
Very good. Okay, good, good, good. Questions there? Now for this one, I might need a little space. Okay, so now let's go to this one. Look at what they're telling you. Find f of 2 and then add it to h of 3. So how many problems we got going on here?
2.
Yeah, we got to solve 2 things first. I'm going to start with the f of 2. So I'm going to go up here, take the function that's called f, take the little problem there, 3x plus 1. Okay. And they're telling me that for this one, the input is a 2. So they're telling me input a 2 in the x. Okay. 3 times 2 plus 1. What do we get there? 3 times 2 and then plus 1. What are we going to get?
7.
7. Very good. Okay. So we did that problem. But now they're saying find h of 3. So I'm going to take the equation h, the one that says 12 divided by x. And here they're telling you to input a what?
I have 3.
On h of 3. Who are you inputting in the h? Who are you inputting in the function h? A what?
3.
Who's the input? The 2 was already used for the one that's called f. So who am I inputting here on the h?
The 3.
The 3, good. So then what is 12 divided by 3?
4.
Very good. And then they're saying, okay, now take your answers. The answer you got for f of 2, we got 7, and add it to the answer that you got for h of 3. We got a 4. So 7 plus 4, 11. And for this one, we don't have to write the ordered pairs or anything because they're 2 different things. Okay. So it's like having 2 of these separately, and then they're telling you to add the answers to them. Okay, so we had to solve this one first. We took the function called f and input a 2 there and solved it. Then we took the function h, input a 3 and solved it. Questions there? Okay, so this is probably one of the hardest ones that you'll get when you have to solve 2 things and then add them up. But the super, super hardest one, and it's not even hard, right? But it just looks hard at the beginning, is this red one right here, okay? What this one is saying is find f of g of 2. And it's like, what, right? For this one, all you have to remember is that you work from the inside out. You work from the inside out. So you're going to ignore the f. What you're going to do is you're just going to focus on the g of 2, the inside. G of 2. What does g of 2 mean? It means to take the function g, there it is, and to input a 2 in there. Everybody understand that? It's like if I would have had g of 2. That's exactly what you would have done, right? G of 2, you take this one and input a 2. Yes? You with me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to copy the g of 2. It was this one. So I'm going to copy it here. And I'm going to plug in a 2. So 2, and then I need a little square. Plus 7. Oops. Okay. And then I solve that part. 2 squared, well, 2 squared is 4, and 4 plus 7 is 11. So I solved the inside. I solved this part. So all of this is just an 11. So now I'm going to have this. Now you will have this. Make sure you can see that. You still have the F on the outside, but now you knew the inside was equal to 11. Now, how do you find F of 11? What does F of 11 tell you to do? What do they want?
You solve from the table, the f.
The F, right? And you're going to input an 11 in there now. So you are going to do 3 because I'm using this one. 3x plus 1, because that's called the f. So 3 times 11 plus 1. So what's 3 times 11 plus 1? How much is that?
34.
Very good. And that's it. That's the answer. So we had to find the inside first. So we took the g equation, plugged in a 2, got an 11. Then we could do f of 11. We could do the outside function, f of the 11, and that gave us 34. So all this fancy stuff, weird looking stuff, is just 34. Questions there? Okay. All right, let's go to this one now. These are super easy, sort of like these. Remember these? Where it's just a matter of looking at the table and the answers are there, right? Same thing here on graphs. We just have to make sure we know, well, who do we go to? Okay. So look at this one. If I say d of 5, that just means that the function is called d and that the input, which is what letter again?
The x.
Very good. X equals 5. Let's type that. Let's put right here, same as x equals 5. So if this is the same as x equals 5, guess what it's telling me to do? It's telling me to go to my graph and to go to 5 on the x-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then to walk up to my graph. Okay, well, let me walk up to my graph. I want to touch the graph. Oh, here I am. I'm touching the graph. So if I know that x is a 5, I need what letter?
The y.
So then I need to walk to the y at that spot. What number am I going to land on?
6.
Very good. So we're going to put d of 5 equals 6. Or just the ordered pair, 5, 6. That's what it was. 5, 6. That was that dot. Questions there? Okay. Now, what is this the same as? If it says d of t equals 10. What is this the same as? It's not x because it's not inside the parentheses. So who is that 10?
The y.
Very good. Very good. So now I'm going to go to the y-axis all the way to the 10. There it is, all the way up here. And I got to walk towards my graph. I got to land on the graph. So I'm going to walk, 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 walk. And this is the dot that has a 10 on the y. So I got to look down to see, well, what does it have on the x?
Is it like an 8?
8. Very good. So I'm going to put right here. D of, what was the x we found? 8 equaled 10. Or you write it as an ordered pair, 8, comma 10. Because we were given the y on this one. Who are they giving us on C?
The Y.
Very good. So I'm going to go to the Y again, and I'm going to go to the 0. Oh, here it is. So I have to walk to my graph. Okay. Now here's what students are like, well, Miss, do I walk here or do I walk here? You have to walk to the point that has a 0 on the Y. If you walk up here, you're not at Y equals 0 anymore. You're at Y equals 4. You got to stay here. Okay. So then which way do I have to go? I have to go this way. This dot has 0 as the Y. What number is that?
10.
Very good. There it is. Because then this dot would be 0, 4. 0 is not on the right spot. Okay. They're telling us 0 has to be on the Y part. All right. And last but not least, here, this is the same thing as x equals 7. And I have to go to x equals 7. So x equals 7 is right here. And then walk up to the graph. And what Y value is that going to be?
7.
7. Very good. So I'm going to put d of 7. That was the x that was given to me. Equaled also 7. There it is. All right, questions there? Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, so for this one, look at what it says. Determine the range. Range is what letter? Who is range? Who is range, guys?
X? Oh, no.
No, it's Y.
Right. So it's saying here, find the Y, find the outputs, okay? That means the answers, okay? The outputs are the answers. The outputs are the Y's. The Y's are the range. It's all the same thing. They're just, you can say them differently. So it's saying find the answers, find the range, find the Y's when the domain is this. So they're telling you domain. Those are your X's, your inputs. So they're basically telling you -4 is an input, plug it in here, solve it. 2 is an input, plug it in here, solve it. 9 is an input, plug it in here and solve it. So they're giving you 3 numbers. That's why I have 3 boxes, because we're really going to have to solve this 3 times because we're getting 3 different inputs. Remember, your domains are your inputs, your X values, okay? They are the ones that go inside the little parentheses. They're the ones that go here. Watch. F. Yes. So it's just a sentence.
Yeah, but then Mr. Sims
Has four more hands than roosters.
more hands than roosters.
Yes. Okay, so for this one, the first domain is -4. So it would look like this. They're really just telling us to find f of -4 because that is your x. Those are your inputs, okay? So then we would do that. We would take this part right here, 3x minus 5, and the first number we'll input is a -4. So 3 times -4 minus 5. 3 times -4 is -12. minus 5. Remember what I said about that minus? It makes the 5 a negative also. So negative 12 and another negative 5, it's going to be negative 17. Okay, so there's one of your range. There's one of your answers, one of your outputs. Okay, negative 17. Then you go to the next one because they're giving you different inputs, different domains. So the next one is 2. So they're really telling you to find f of 2. To take the function f, 3x minus 5, and to input a 2 now. 3 times 2 minus 5. So 3 times 2 is 6. 6 minus 5, well, that's just a 1. Okay. And then finally, find f of 9. 9 was the last domain, the last input, the last x that they want you to input. So I'm going to take 3x minus 5, and I'm going to input a 9. Three times 9 is 27. 27 minus 5 is 22. So your final answers, guys, they like to list them like this. What did you get for all 3 answers? You got negative 17, you got a 1, and you got a 22. That's how they'll write them sometimes. Okay, you see how they wrote the 3 inputs in parentheses in a list? They probably want the answer also in a list. Okay, questions there? No questions? Okay, so now the last set, okay, down here. Now look at what it says. Determine the domain. Whose domain?
The x's.
Very good. So now we're looking for the inputs. Now we're looking for the x's because they're giving us the range. They're giving us the answers. They're giving us the y's. Okay, so here's what these are going to look like. We're going to take our function called f, but we don't have the domains. We don't have the inputs. Okay, what they're saying is f of x equals negative 3. So this is the first answer they're giving us. So I'm supposed to take my equation, 2x plus 1, and equal it to negative 3. So the answer, the range now, it goes as the answer. And now we're going to have to solve for x. So what's our first step for solving for x? Minus 1. Minus 1. Then I'm going to have 2x equals, and negative 3 and another negative 1 make negative 4. Now I'm going to divide by 2. And I finally get x equals negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. Questions on that one? Emily, you don't need them if you don't want to. It's okay, you don't need them. Okay. Okay. All right. The next answer they gave us was a 9. So f of x now equals 9 because it was the range. It was the y's, the answers. So we're going to take our f function, which says 2x plus 1, and equal it to 9 now. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do minus 1 to both sides. And then we're going to have left 2x equals 9 minus 1 is 8. And then we are going to divide by 2. And I get x equals 8 divided by 2, 4. Finally, f of x equals 15. So take your f function, 2x plus 1, and equal it to 15. Do minus 1 to both sides. You're going to end up with 2x equals to 14. And then you divide by 2. So you'll get x equals to 7. So don't forget the final way they want you to write your answers. Okay, they want you to just list them the way they did. So parentheses, -2, 4, and 7. Those were our inputs that we found. Questions there?
Arthur, go ahead. Arthur wants to go to Canada right here. I'm going to see your timestamp. Okay? I think I'm telling you excellent word.
We good still? Can I move it or?
No, I
No.
haven't.
Okay.
I'm going to start class at 9:10. So I'm going to give you 9 minutes. You have 12 if you go out and you log in at 8:58. Yeah, that's one thing. The second thing is a few students don't log in. That's one of the factors in being promoted to high school is
Let me know when you're ready. Did Lee make it to class or no? No? All right, can I go to the next slide?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is just more of what we were doing already. Okay. So look at this one. F of 2 plus G of 1. So you're going to have to solve two problems. The first one, you're taking the function called f, and you're going to plug in the 2 in here. Okay, so you're going to take the function f, x squared. Let me see if I can. Let me see. I guess I can. Can I draw it? It's not going to give me my exponent, is it? Just go to my, okay, here's my recent characters. You see what I did? I put a recent characters and it's right there. So x squared plus 2. So I'm taking my function f and I'm going to plug in a 2. So 2, added copy, added paste, and then plus 2. I know that 2 squared is 4, and 4 plus 2 is 6. So we got our answer for the first part, okay? Now we have to do our second one, the g of 1. The one where you take the g function and plug in a 1. So I'm just going to space on the first row. X plus 3 is my g function. Then I go to the second row. And they're telling me to plug in a 1. So 1 plus 3. Oops, I don't want to do that. And then I have to go to the third row. 1 plus 3 is 4. So I'm going to take both of these answers, and they're telling me to add them up. Okay, so I'm going to take my 6 and add it with my second answer, the 4, and that gives me 10. So this right here is my final answer. Questions there? And don't forget that I'm going to post this video. I'm recording, so I'll post this video as soon as it comes to me, okay? On the next one, it's the fancy looking one, f of g of 3. Well, you need to use the g function because that's the only one we could do, the one that's inside. They're telling us take the g and plug in a 3. That's the first thing you do. So I'm going to take the g one says x plus 3. So I'm going to take that one. X plus 3. And I'm going to input a 3 in there. And I'm going to get a 6. So this inside is a 6. So now guess what I have to do? Now I have to find f of what I got, which was 6. So now I'm taking the f1, this one, so I'm going to copy it down. I'm going to copy it from here. And I'm going to input a 6 in it. Six squared is 36 plus 2. That gives me 38. So you work from the inside out, okay? And guys, remember when, look at 14. You're probably still typing a little bit and that's fine, but 14 is super easy. They're basically just telling you take the f function and change the input variable to a y. That's all it is. So you're going to take the x squared plus 2, which I'm going to copy from here. And they're telling you, change that. Instead of an x, now I want you to use a y. That's it. That's your answer there. Questions, guys? How are we feeling about this? Now give me your input. I need your input and be honest, okay? A, should I do a video which you have to follow along and fill in all the colored boxes on these notes? Do we need to go over all of this all over again? Okay, because notice it's the same types of problems, but I switched the numbers, okay? So do I need to make a video so we can finish these notes completely? Or tomorrow for asynchronous, do you think this video is enough for you to refer back to? And I give you like maybe just one of each problem just so that you can actually practice on your own. What do you think would be more beneficial? Do you think I should give you practice problems and you use this video? Or you think you need to do all of these colored ones also? Because if I give you new ones, I can probably just give you one of each. And then on Friday, we'll go over it. What do you want to do? Do you want me to do a video finishing note? Or do you want practice problems?
The video finishing the notes.
Finishing the notes? Okay, put it on the chat. Put a 1 if you want to finish notes, or 2 if you rather have practice problems and you just use this video to do the practice problems. Let me see. Okay, everybody vote though so I can see majority. So 1, finish the notes. 2, practice problems. Okay, so then tomorrow, it's only got 2 of you voting. Tomorrow, I will make a video of the remainder of these notes, okay? Which means that on Friday, what we'll do, Friday is I'll give you the practice and then you'll be practicing on your own and of course unmuting if you have a question. Okay, does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys, well, that's it for today. And I